Halloween is here, ghost or among us. By the end of today's episode, you might just believe that the spirits are alive and well and ready to communicate with us during this Halloween season. Today we have an incredible guest joining us, Mustafa Gatollari. One of the stars of A&E's hit show Ghost Hunters, Mustafa is a seasonal paranormal investigator known for his specific approach to uncovering the mysteries of the supernatural. In today's episode, we're diving into some of the most fascinating and spine-chilling investigations, exploring the haunted locations he's visited, and revealing the never-before-heard details behind the ghostly encounters. We'll also discuss how Mustafa and his team apply groundbreaking techniques to gather evidence of paranormal activity, transforming ghost hunting from folklore into a legit field of study. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, today's conversation is packed with insight into how history, science, and the supernatural intersect. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a thrilling exploration into the unknown. I'm Tony Sweet with Truth Be Told. Please welcome to the Truth Be Told studios for the first time, Mustafa Gatollari. I said it like it was almost Italian, but I know that's not true.
I love it. For the longest time, people would ask me, like, hey, how'd you get the name Mustafa? I'd be like, well, my dad was a Sicilian fisherman. He was on a boat, and a Moroccan guy saved his life. He promised he'd name his firstborn kid Mustafa after him, but then he just the second one because, he had other people to honor him. They're like, really? I'm like, no.
It's a good story. I mean, you can make anything up, I guess. You can even write an article and see it's there in print. Well, thank you so much for being here. I know the book that we're going to touch on today, Elements of a Haunting, it's been out for almost 3 years.
Yeah, it's about 3 years since it's been released. My estimations are correct, and people are still getting it. They reach out to me about it a lot. There's a lot of stuff that Brandon and I would probably update in it, especially after these seasons of Haunted Discoveries and our other spinoff show, Family Spirits, that we did put in. But the basis of Elements of a Haunting is kind of what we used. It was our project that we did during COVID. And it's like we had all these theories, we had all these discoveries, discoveries that we made while investigating together on ghost hunters and just theorizing and talking every single day and doing research on our own. And then we're like, we should just kind of put this together in a book. And then we did that. And, the reception from the paranormal community has been great. And I'm very proud of it. Like, I'll go back and I'll look at it. I'll be like, oh, wow, it's actually pretty good. And I think we all feel kind of dumb a lot. Like, anybody who's actually done anything, like, I've noticed I feel good because I noticed that the people I admire the most always mention how dumb they are, and then it's like I found myself doing that. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm on the right path of like the people I admire. So that makes me feel good.
Same here.
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised by it whenever I go and someone sends me a snippet from it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, who wrote that? That guy sounds awesome. And they're like, it's you idiot. I'm like, oh, okay.
So I can say, if you can do it, I can do it. Is that what you're saying?
100%. There was. It's weird. Like everybody used to watch like VH1 Behind the Music.
Of course.
Yeah. So like one of my favorite, usually the lesser known bands are the ones people like. But for me, my favorite one, I think, was like Metallica had one.
Oh, wow.
They were talking with Metallica. If it was Behind the Music, I don't remember. But like, I just remember James Hetfield, like sitting on camera, and he says in his interview, he's like, well, you don't understand. He's like, we were just a bunch of bums that got together in California and we decided we wanted to do a band. He's like, this could be you. And he meant it. And he's like, you could do this. There's nothing stopping you. And I remember seeing that and I was just like, oh yeah, I never thought to get like a book published or one that people would actually like enjoy. And then here we are. So it feels really
almost
cool.
3 years later. Wait, when's the next book coming out?
I don't know. I'll be honest. Like, I don't even know. Thank God. And I'm going to knock on whatever I can. Hear some wood. There you go. Don't worry. I'm not knocking on my junk. Like,
I was like, wait a minute. I was like, we're not that kind of show now. Well, unless we get a big audience.
Let's do it. No, I'm not knocking on wood. We've got like ever since season one of Haunted Discoveries, like I think even before we got through filming like the fourth episode on set, like
Right.
the production company, we partnered with Stargazer. They were like, "So when are we going to do season two?"
You're
Because
like,
I guess
oh,
they just like the dailies and all that. So I was like, "Let's do this, and then we'll talk dates." And then
right,
that,
right.
and it's been like that ever since.
Well, let me. I always have people on if it's somebody in UFO world or ghost world or Bigfoot. I always say something that really kind of draws people like you and me into the paranormal genre of an experience. When I was a kid, I grew up in a house that I used to see an old man. My nephew, years later, saw the same old man. So I always ask these guests that are ghost hunters or writing books, what is your experience from an early age that kind of really perked your interest? Or was it just, you just was fascinated with it?
So I have a specific experience that occurred in the house that my family moved into when I was 4 years old in New City, New York. Made it out of like this really small apartment building in Lodi, New Jersey, Bergen County. Real classic Italian town. Now
Right, right.
it's completely different now. A lot of Albanians there now. It's like we're ruining everything. But it was a really really beautiful home. I mean, massive. It was tall. I mean, you had 3 stories, right? So you had 3 stories, 2 kitchens.
Oh, wow.
Great for like, yeah, I know. So you got like Albanian family, got grandma. My grandma and grandpa lived with us. My grandma got to have her
Right.
kitchen. My mom got to have her kitchen. We're eating all the time. It's the only vice that Muslims had growing up. It's not like couldn't drink or it was just that and conspiracy theories. Those are the only things I grew up on, like bean soup and like Stradamus videos and stuff. So, but I'll never forget our first night living there. And I usually indulge this story and I go and I tell like all the little details and stuff. For this, I'm gonna. It basically, my brother and I, in the middle of the night, in our first night living there, we saw all the cabinets opening and
Oh,
closing.
wow.
And our mom woke up because we were so jazzed and we were going nuts. Like when we saw, we were like, "This is awesome! We got like a magic house!" And she saw it too. And then there was a series of events that occurred over the next few years in that place. And then that piqued my interest. And you always kind of wonder, were we going crazy? Was this some kind of like collective familial trauma? Blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't want to sound like an A24 film. It's like, okay, guys, it's getting old. Let's do something else. But that's what happened. And for me, I'm happy that, because a lot of times people will have those events, right? I'm happy that I kind of took that and the nature of what I thought hauntings and paranormal activity are has changed so much since then that, I mean, you mentioned UFOs, you mentioned Bigfoot. We recently, I can't talk about it because this is just the end of like season 4. And
Such a tease.
we Tony, I only do it because you love it.
Yeah. I've had this experience before, so I'm used to it.
Many people have or on this side of the camera.
No, right? Face to face, it's never the same. It's
Oh, it's way out. It's a whole other ballgame, man. No, but we encountered something in this last location that we were filming at for season 4 of Haunted Discoveries that really, really, really kind of showed that supernatural, paranormal, alien, cryptozoological occurrences may be more closely related in terms of interdimensionality.
Oh, wow.
Than people think. Brandon, in his earlier work with APRA, has a collection of audio finds that are some of the most astounding things I've ever heard, but also touch upon something that we briefly spoke about in the book, which is the idea of like time loops, right? Or
right,
like
right.
wrinkles, cuts, in time, like, or where a piece of the veil is thinner, or I don't know what the hell it is. But there's this one audio find he has, and I believe it was at the Andres Pico Adobe out in California. And he sends in a former detective because he speaks Spanish. And the man goes in and he tries to interact by himself. Mm-hmm. The whole place is lit up with audio equipment. And he asks if anybody's there. Now, on this audio file, if you look at it through audio analysis, there's 3 like frequency lines. Mm-hmm. Right. On the first frequency up here is this detective's voice, and then the noises that he's making. And then underneath that, you hear a young boy in Spanish say, like, who's there? And then under that is another person.
Oh, wow.
It's a man that says, no, this can't be, in Spanish. Now, he brought that and presented that at a university talk. And this was as part of, I believe, his fundraising efforts for the Historical Society that was overseeing that property and many others. And there was a professor there of language who was very intrigued by it. And he listened to the file. He's like, do you understand that this dialect and the way the Spanish is being spoken on those other 2 people who were talking that's right. From like over 100 years old. And it's Catalan. It's like from the Catalan region in Spain. And there were Spanish immigrants from that region who came to California during the time when the Californios were, prevalent in the area, right. And massive landowners and stuff. So that's an instance of like interdimensionality that I think, you mentioned Bigfoot. People mentioning seeing lights a lot of time when they see Sasquatch. Mm-hmm. There's always these blinding lights. I mean, we've captured weird light anomalies, and especially in graveyards and cemeteries, which is, I didn't know this until after the fact, where people say that they see a lot of Bigfoot and Sasquatch sightings by graveyards. Anytime people mention them, so what are they? Can they move within light? Are they skinwalkers and Wendigo or whatever, one and the same? In Albanian tradition, and it's weird, like my father always told me the story about how when he was a kid, and he only brought it up after I started talking about this weird, like this light phenomena. And we saw something in apparition in conjunction, after this light phenomena. And it was just unlike anything I'd ever seen, and we captured on camera. My father was like, when I was a kid, I was woken up by a light, and this was in Italy. They had moved from Macedonia. Albania was a communist occupied. A lot of the Muslims, they went to Macedonia, and then they went to Italy. So my father, it's weird. He's like an Albanian Muslim guy, but he talks like he's like a third-rate character from like Goodfellas. It's like a gangster. It was like growing up, like we'd be at the mosque and he'd be dressed like straight up, like Ray Liotta from Goodfellas. Right. It was so crazy. That was his idea. Yeah, so this Allahu Akbar stuff, you know what I'm saying? So it was pretty funny. We were definitely characters in the mosque community, but he said that he saw when he was a boy. It was a light. He was woken up by it, and then he saw a monkey, and then the monkey turned. He had grabbed it because he didn't know what the hell this was. In this like little, they used to live in like these little like shack things, kind of like gypsies, like
right,
like dachas. If you Russian, I don't know how to put it, like a bungalow, like small bungalows. And he was there with his siblings. Grabbed this monkey thing. He said, "What the hell's this thing coming in?" My family's a young boy. He's like 9 or 10 years old. The thing turns in front of his friend, in front of his eyes. And it's this girl he goes to school with. And she's like, "Please leave me alone. Like, let me go. You're hurting me." And then he let her go. And then it vanished in front of him. He saw it. He's like, it went to the window and it turned into light and disappeared.
Wow. So when you hear stuff like that, I mean, because I grew up in Kansas, there was always these fish stories and stories that I've heard about, things that happened around. And sometimes you're like, is that just exaggerated? So when you
What's
hear,
the fish stories in Kansas? Tell
well,
me. I'm sorry. I know I'm the guest, but I want to hear what that's about.
no, it's no big deal. You go out and catch a 2-pound bass, and within 5 years, it was a 20-pound bass. I mean, it was just one of those. There's an
Oh,
exaggeration that they
damn.
add on to stories. It's because back in the day, I think there were a lot of great storytellers, and still are, but a lot of the generation I think that were great storytellers are leaving us. So when you hear stuff like that, where you're like, come on, where do you think a lot of these stories or come from? That's not enhanced, because I'm sure you do a lot of investigations. Like, oh, my house is the most haunted house. Well, you walk in and you're like, you don't feel a thing, you don't see anything. It's like, are these people just exaggerating? Or are they just paranoid? Or they have a mental illness? So where do you kind of, not saying whoever told you that story, but but how do you know when you hear some of these stories that it's not a legit tale that just wasn't made up?
You start to, after a while, like when you're an investigator, right?
Right.
You can see, like, my son, whenever he's trying to like tell me a story, I always know when he's lying because I can
Hmm.
kind of like see the coals burning in his head
Right.
about like
Right.
how he's going to like up the ante. If people are talking to you and they're really, really trying to look for feedback,
uh,
or if they're saying it in a way where it's like you can tell that their responses, and again, this is just a thing I think that comes with practice. Like if they're looking for feedback, they're usually full of sugar honey iced tea. I've noticed is that's the thing. The people who are telling the truth, either they're completely deranged,
right.
and they
Right.
believe what they believe, which sometimes causes a weird pseudo haunting type scenario,
Right.
um, or they're completely telling the truth. I mean, in one of the seasons of Haunted Discoveries, that kind of like really really opened my eyes to the possibility of alien phenomena and UFO
Mm-hmm.
phenomena. And was this guy was he was talking about it at this one farmhouse, and what happened to him there. And I remember when we did the preliminary interview with him, before going out and shooting, there's like cartoons on in the background of this like house that he's living in, and it's got like the flannel type furniture, and just something straight out of like an early 90s like Warner Brothers backlot movie, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
to show like a Midwestern family,
Yeah.
and I was like watching him tell us about these horrifying things that happened to him with aliens. And I'm like, after the call, the mix of the cartoons, I think it was like Captain King or Captain Caveman that was like playing in the background. I just go to Brandon and I was like, and just the matter of fact way he was talking about it, I'm like, dude, I'm like, this guy, I'm like, either this happened or he is entirely convinced that this happened. And when I met him, I don't know. I'm just like, I believe it. I believe that this happened to this guy. I really, really do.
Yeah, and I,
He,
I I feel the same way. I feel like there's some people that you definitely can, when they tell the story, it was something that made an impact on their psyche, and a lot of people that do have mental illness. Not saying a lot of these people do. It does open it up to a lot of dark entities that unfortunately will kind of focus on those type of people because they can
oh
enter,
yeah.
enter much easier. And many people think, like we said, ghost hunting is purely folklore and just for entertainment purposes. But you're transforming like into like a scientific discipline, and I'd like to know maybe what's one myth or misconception about ghost hunting that you'd like to clear up. Especially after everything you've discovered in your investigations. I mean, you've seen a lot at your young an age.
I think possessions happen way less than people think. I mean, it's never. I believe that I've been in some situations where there's one place there's this. It's called the hospital on College Hill Hospital
Mm.
in West Virginia, in Williamson, West Virginia. There is this weird type of energy there in one of the rooms that I noticed on two of the investigations where I went to, where if you sit there long enough for like a few minutes by yourself, you get this kind of like almost weightless feeling in your arms. It's almost as if something's kind of grabbing your arms. And yeah, there it is. It's a great spot.
It's
If you
spooky
can,
looking.
oh, if you can get out there, that's a really cool spot. And there was a restaurant, there was a sports bar, but I think it's under new ownership and it's not as good now. But I mean, it's Williamson, West Virginia. Nobody, you never saw a scene in a movie. It's like, oh my God, Tina, guess where he's taking me? Where? We got tickets to Williamson.
Right. You
And
cheap bastard.
no, it's pretty gnarly. It was hard to get to. I mean, every time I went there, I'd have to fly into Cincinnati and drive like 3 hours to get there
Oh my God. It better be good.
it's yeah. There's definitely closer airports, but then it's like, why am I gonna wait for a 2 hour later?
True,
I'll just
true.
drive it, like But it was it's a really cool spot, and I noticed when I was there, like we talk about that's like the closest thing to like a position. I was investigating it once with Daryl Marston from A&E's Ghost Hunters.
Right.
We're on the show together, and he's like, I've encountered that before. No, I'll do the Daryl word. No, dude, I've encountered that before. Brother, like, dudes, you're getting puppeteer.
That sounds like Beetlejuice.
Oh man, I should tell him that. That's great. He could have been a stand-in, but yeah. So we went out to there. Bobby Mackey's basement was like the closest thing I came. Like I heard something whispering in my ear, but it wasn't like a demonic possession.
Right.
So that's one misconception. Another one is that I personally, and this is my theory, and again, I don't think that there's people throw this around a lot when they're trying to sound like smart about ghost hunting. Is that there's no experts in this field. And I agree. Like they're really, it's really hard because there's no like methodology. You can be an expert on anatomy and you can know what the gallbladder does. I still don't know what it does. I know I need to have it in me, but there's things like that. But I think there really isn't anyone who can say that they're an expert. But what I can tell you is that in our experience, there's been one constant with paranormal investigation that I've seen, and it's that. Okay, how do I put this? It goes back to what I said in terms of like how you know when someone's BSing you,
right?
And it's that if they're talking to you in the hopes of receiving some type of feedback, right? Whether it's emotional, whether it's you telling them, wow, that's amazing, or whatever it is. They're usually full of baloney. And I feel like with paranormal investigations, when you become so engrossed, and this is what happened in this other series that we were filming recently that I wish I could talk about more, but it's a really crazy long form experiment that we conducted at one of an insanely haunted location that a lot of people know about. And when you're engrossed with that feedback of, oh, I want the blinking lights on the box to show up. Right. You know what I mean? Like after a while, after you've been doing this, like especially like me, like I do it, and I'm trying to produce a TV show, and I've done at this point over 1,000 investigations, like in different sessions. Like, why the hell am I sitting alone in a dusty old building talking to a box? Like it becomes that. And if you're not working to be interested in what you're doing, and you're not working to be interested in what you're saying with the people that you're doing it with, I really don't think you're going to get anything. I really don't. if we want to talk about even the interdimensionality aspect, or if you're talking about it with ghosts and entities who are there,
Mm-hmm.
I always had the belief that they're there because they want life. Why would you stick around here unless you were looking for life? And then life really is that experiential moment, whatever it is, even if it's just in yourself emotionally being like, oh my God, I'm such a fraud. I'm literally sitting here just hoping that this freaking yellow light comes on this goddamn thing. Or like, if you're able to have human moments with people, whether it's you, me talking to like our cam op
Mm-hmm.
sound guy, or me like working with something, okay, why would this happen? This person's story said this, and I'm fully engrossed in it, and I'm working with the team. I don't know what it is, man. It's just like we've been getting more and more stuff,
That's
like
great.
more and more stuff, and it's just been getting better. I don't know. I'm very happy. I don't want to question it. I don't care
Right, right.
to know. It's like I don't know why the girl wants to go out with me. I don't care if she wants to go out with me. I'm just gonna make sure that I show up on the date, and if I
That's
say
right.
something stupid, make it good. Like that's all I care about.
Make sure the credit card doesn't decline. That's always a bad sign.
You are right about
That's
that.
right. Being in front of the camera and behind the scenes also as a producer, I think that's kind of a fascinating, but also very challenging, because how do you keep people entertained, but keeping the authenticity of the environment, so you don't have to try to create scenarios?
It's a double-edged sword in
Yeah.
the sense that, like, if depending on how you're coming at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a producer and you're a host of the show, if you are self-critical, which I try to be, and I realize you need to be,
Right.
and so is Brandon. And we have Kevin Oddy, who works on the show as well, and then we have Malia Molino. Now we have Craig Owens in the newer season of Haunted Discoveries. If you are self-critical, that is your there's nothing better if you can produce it and host it and be on it. Because if you're self-critical, truly self-critical, there is no one who's going to demand more of yourself
True.
than yourself. And these
That is true.
last two seasons of the shows that we shot, both Haunted Discoveries and Family Spirits, like that was when we were like, we were really, really hammering ourselves home, man. Like it was like day one in prison. You got bunked with the guy who's looking at you a little too longly, and you did
Yeah.
not
Right.
like those bedroom eyes. So I was giving myself bedroom eyes in a bad way the entirety of the production, and it ended up like I think I did my best work on it. I know Brandon feels the same way, that he did his best work on it. So it works that way. If you are again not working in that capacity, and it is tough. I'll say I've gotten the most tired after this season, because you're on set for 12 hours, and then
Right.
2 hours before that and 2 hours after that you're like working through stuff and decompressing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, cool, 16 hours just dedicated to this, on top of everything else. You get back to the hotel and there's other things you want to like check out beforehand, and it's like you're not sleeping most nights, and then we all have other stuff that we do too. So it's like there's all of that, and then the show, and then like past seasons of episodes to review and audio.
Mm-hmm.
So that's challenging in that way. But I will say this, only because I have to believe it for my own sanity, but I do believe, and proof is in the pudding, especially with the later seasons that we've been coming out with. But although I do think that even season one is incredible in terms of a paranormal show, um, if you, it's like that invisible bridge in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. If you have faith and you don't take the easy way out, and you don't go for the obvious choice, and even if it is the obvious choice, if you don't subject that obvious choice to scrutiny and earn that obvious choice
Right.
emotionally, artistically, going through everything, you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna look like you're gonna look like a jerk off. It's like, oh, this person who's got completely zero self-awareness. And I just think that, like, if you force yourself to have self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
you're self-critical, being a producer, host, and then thank God we have Brandon, who's an investigator as well, who's investigating, who's hosting, and the director and the editor.
Wow.
So it's his series, and he's there and he's editing it. So
Wow, that's amazing.
while we're there, we're like, this is going to work. It's going to go this way narratively. Yo, Brandon, where are we taking this? And he'll be like, these are the ideas that I got. Boom, right off the bat. So we saved ourselves like 3 days of filming. No, I'm not even exaggerating. Like we've saved ourselves like days and days and days of filming per case just because of the way Brandon works. So that is the only reason this show can exist. The only reason. No one would give us a budget to shoot it the way we would need to shoot it, and it still wouldn't come out as good because the editors at the end of the day, they're just doing their job. And I have a sneaking suspicion on other stuff that I've worked on that the editors didn't even look at all the footage. Like, so we're very lucky.
Actually, I find it fascinating, or not fascinating. I find it refreshing that you actually seem to really enjoy working with each other, which I think makes a huge benefit for, more of a authentic filming. And because there's a lot of people you hear behind the scenes, oh my God, we just about rip each other apart. So, and I don't want to forget Brandon, because you sent me a thing earlier today. Can you tell us what Brandon did?
Oh my God. I know MSN picked it up. There's a bunch of news outlets picking it up. So Brandon just purchased the Polk House, Dr. J. Polk House in Perryville, Kentucky.
Wow.
He's been looking for a research center and headquarters for the American Paranormal Research Association.
Oh, is he going to use this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
And it's located on the site of America's bloodiest Civil War battle. This battle was not supposed to happen. You talk to historians, everybody talks about Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
Even the siege of Vicksburg was very, very important. But one could argue that the soul of America, like, you talk about the Civil War,
mm-hmm.
and this is not hyperbole, the soul of America was decided on that fateful day. I know I sound like the beginning of when they wheel the TV into class when the substitutes there and they play a historical thing. But the soul of America was decided at the Battle of Perryville. And intriguingly enough, Brandon, we didn't know this until after the fact when we were investigating the Carrick Parks house and then the H.P. Bottom house on the Perryville battlefield. He has a familial connection, which is a huge part of our research into hauntings in the Battle of Perryville. I believe it was his great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather, forgive me, Brandon, if I get that wrong, who fought in the Battle of Perryville, and he very well may have been wounded there, and I believe lost an arm in the battle. So he didn't know this, but his ancestor fought at the Battle of Perryville, and there's something about that place, that entire town, where paranormal is part of daily life for everybody there. You talk to anybody there, they've seen full-bodied apparitions. There's crazy finds that people have had of Civil War soldiers, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's not a reenactor," and it's like they have the metadata and all that stuff, and it's like, "Oh my God!" And you look at the photo, and it's like, "Holy moly!" So we've documented a lot of crazy stuff there, and we've always wanted to go back. And we were just talking with the Historic Society, and on that house, I mean, the guy who ended up becoming a doctor and had that home, I mean, he had Confederate Union soldiers strewn about it. He wasn't even supposed to be the doctor. The guy was supposed to be the doctor, fell sick, and this guy picked him up, took care of him, saw these wounded men who were there for like in some cases, I think like years until after the battle. And then he was just like, there's no one else to take care of these guys. And he immigrated. He immigrated from another country. I forgot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he was just like, I need to help. Like, there's no one else here to help them. And that became his life. Like,
that's
that
amazing.
became his life. And his autobiography and the stuff that he wrote, his journal, is insane. And so, like, you have all of these amazing stories of different family members and people, not to mention the stuff that we've discovered while we were in Perryville. Right. We have a crazy cave system that runs underneath the town, and an entire community of people who believe in it, who've witnessed it, who are open to talk about it. So you have belief, which I believe manifests paranormal activity. And the
Right.
more you talk about it and are
Right.
open to it, you see more.
Yeah, you're
Which is
open
why I
to it.
believe
Yeah.
a lot of people see stuff when they're kids because they're more open to it until they become boring adults and they freaking think they know
Right.
everything. It's like, okay, dude, the only thing you know is when Macy's is having its sale. Shut up. Like, it's really annoying. But like, you have all of these factors. Then there's the weird geological, topographical aspect of the area. And then you have the Civil War history, the personal familial history that Brandon has. So I'm just like, I cannot wait to do, like, we're going to be able to do the longest form, largest scale experiments we've ever been able to do. Sorry, I'm doing the Trump thing. But like, it's like the largest scale, longest form experiments we've ever been able to do at this property. And I'm so happy that he got it. And I just can't wait to load this stuff up light it up with audio equipment, video equipment. Brandon, don't walk around in your underwear, dude, because I'm going to be recording the whole thing.
Right.
No, he's
Unless you start an OnlyFans.
he's all right. There'd be a lot of people interested.
I know,
I had to
right,
do
right.
it like under Mustafa Gatollari, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing, man." I don't know. But yeah, it's really cool, and he's stoked to be a part of the community. There's people in the community who are stoked to be a part of it. I'm really happy that he got it, and I couldn't think of a more fitting home for Apra, because that's why we started Haunted Discoveries. He was looking for a paranormal research center. After the first season, we were like, okay, we found a bunch of cool spots, but we're like, yo, there's more research because we just discovered all this new stuff. And then I told him, I think it was like during season 2, I'm like, you know what's going to happen, bro? I'm like, you're going to find it when you're not looking for it. I'm like, it's literally, you're going to
like a relationship. Yeah. Just like a relationship.
Or a new addiction. Right. I never thought I'd like it.
Right. That was good. That was good.
This is better than blowing.
Right. Well, what we see on a lot of television shows, we see a lot of hauntings of going into asylums, homes, and this brings up a good point that it's some of these hauntings, and you've done thousands of investigations, that it doesn't necessarily have to be a home. It doesn't necessarily have to be a hospital. So do you think some of these locations, like these battlefields, are probably even way more haunted or more spirits? Because, I mean, how many hundreds or thousands of people have died on these lands? What is your take on, some of the most haunted locations, not necessarily even homes? Besides Perryville.
Yeah, I've been very, very fascinated with hospital phenomena as of late. And not like, like mental asylum, like
right.
unspeakable horrors that people have. It's like, okay, we get it. It's like, it's unfortunate too, because I've been on the road and I've talked to people who like come into ownership of historic buildings, and like, they want to make them have dark histories. And like, I'm like, dude, you don't need to do that.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, like, think about a hospital. Think about what goes on in a hospital, right? Everything you need to know about life occurs on the moment a baby's born. There's probably going to be a lot of people, maybe moms, who are going to be upset when I say this, and I have upset mothers before when I said this. I've witnessed 3 separate births live, 2 of my own kids, and another one was just a random stranger on the street in the Bronx, and helped her through it, made sure they had water and all that stuff, and got towels from the store and all that. And it was just happened right on the street. And there's something that I mean, it's pretty gross. Like, it's pretty disgusting. Like, there's blood, there's all little bits and stuff that come out. Sometimes the mom poops on the kid's head. Like, it happens. Like, it happens. Like, you literally get crapped on from the moment you enter life. But you now have this connection between these 2 people, which can hopefully grow and extend to other people and other members of our not always so great species, to put it lightly. I would put downright despicable and vile. I don't like human beings that much. I'd rather be a squirrel. I think that a squirrel's a professional squirrel, dude. At 4 weeks, a squirrel's a professional squirrel. I know.
I want to be a Beverly Hills dog. They get treated very well, so
it would be pretty nice. I mean, if you think about the only animals that end up being deranged are the ones that human beings look after and teach to live. So I would say, how does this relate to paranormal and everything? Everything in a hospital kind of goes back to fundamental fundamental fact of life, which is, as corny and after school special as it sounds, life really, really, really is what you make of it. You have this opportunity now. You have this beautiful thing because it's the only thing that we know,
Right.
right? With this child, we have life. We don't know anything else. It's not like we could opt out or in the beginning. You know, it's not. It's not that we have that choice. And we auditioned for this part. We beat out 299,999,999 other sperm to come to be here. We
Right.
got the part. We knew how
Right.
to fight before we knew what knowing was,
Right.
and
Right.
we're here. So what the hell are you going to do with it? And I think a hospital really, not to sound all Tony Robbins about it, please, I'm sorry, but like a hospital really, really cuts to the heart of what that is. And I've just noticed remarkable things in them. Remarkable things in them. Harriman Hospital in Tennessee. Um, People all over the country, they'll visit a place like Harriman or Waverly Hills Sanatorium, or um, you go to any of the hospital in College Hill, and they'll sit there and they'll be like, I think I just heard my great grandfather, and they'll
Hmm.
show you an audio recording, and they're like, oh my god, that's them, and you don't know who it is because
Right.
it's not like you knew your great grandfather played pinochle with them, but they came through. And what is it about hospitals? I think it's again about that connection that people are looking for and maybe actively fighting for emotionally,
Hmm.
in a place. And hospitals bring that out.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know why. I
Well, if you
just
think about it, majority of us, especially from the early 1900s till now, the majority of us are born there and the majority of us die there. So we're come into this world and we go out of this world in hospitals, majority of us. So, I mean, I can see where it, has a
oh
lot of
yeah,
emotions, you know?
that and family homes, like
Yeah.
homes with a big family lineage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's passed on through. In fact, I know you live in New Jersey, but one of my seventh great grandfather was Richard Stockton, the Mormon House. Um,
okay, no
yeah,
way.
he was, and so I've never been, but I've always wanted to go. But that I think that house was in their family, the Stockton family, for over 200 years. It's in Princeton,
Yeah,
New Jersey.
dude. I mean, if you're ever in the area, and this is not anybody will tell you when I say this, like I make good on it, and I get upset because other people don't take me seriously. I'll be like, yo, I'm supposed to go. Come
I want
and
to.
I know Princeton very well, dude. We could go there. I've got my ambisonic. We could
I would
set up audio.
love
We could
to.
set up video, dude. That'd be freaking awesome,
No, that
man.
would be.
And we could
I
set up
would love it.
barometers. We could do so much stuff. And Princeton's got good. Sorry. Princeton's got good restaurants. It's like a really cool place. Like we'll make a whole day of it. It'll be
I
nice.
would love it. No, that's I've always wanted to go, and I think it would even make it better to have a little bit of, a little bit of paranormal investigation there.
Put some Jersey stank on it,
That's
baby. You know what
right.
I'm saying? Princeton, baby. It's like Hogwarts. You'll be like Hogwarts again. It looks like Hogwarts. I'll take you to university, and they have black squirrels. It's
Do
like
they
one of the few
really?
places in the country. Yeah, dude, it's awesome.
Well, I definitely okay. I will make sure that's on the books, and in 2025 we'll make sure it happens.
Yo, hit me up.
Well, before we get out of here, I do want to ask a couple more questions, and I know this was something was somebody asked me, and I couldn't answer it. Like I said, when I was a kid and I saw the old man, I didn't really know much about who this was, and later we thought, oh, maybe it was the old man that built the house in the early 1900s because it was built by the banker, this guy that had the bank in town at the time. But have you ever went to a location and, I mean, dealing with so many different spirits, actually had a fondness for it, not like falling for it, but a fondness for a spirit where you're like, I could have been friends with this spirit when they were alive. Have you ever had a fondness for someone or for a
Oh,
spirit?
oh my God. Oh, dude, I cried when I left.
Wow.
Yeah. Hall Place, Caroline Royce. completely caught us by surprise. We thought we were going there to like debunk like Civil War history
Right,
sites
right.
and stuff. And then we ended up talking with an owner of the place who passed away in like 96. I was like, this woman was alive when Fox was doing the network television premiere of Demolition Man. I'm like, that's like kind of crazy to think about. Like, I remember that, like cracking open my
Right.
my bag of like Taco Bell flavored Doritos and like watching that. And I was like, wow, this woman was still alive. So that was gnarly. Yeah, Caroline Royce. There was we went to this one place in Tennessee for season 4, man, and it's like that was this kid, and he just he followed us all across this place.
That's cool.
Like it was a commune, like it was a former commune,
Right.
and like I don't know how the hell we're getting EMF signatures on command whenever I mention this kid's name in a graveyard. Like it was like 100 feet away. It was insane. Like I don't know, man. So yeah, those are two that pop out to me, where you felt like Mary Louise, I think it was Mary Lucille Myers in Pampa, Texas, for A&E's Ghost Hunters. We wrote about her in the book. Another one, very, very, very weird. Like you develop these things with people. Would I be open to a romantic relationship with a ghost? You best believe it.
That's between us, right?
I'm gonna tell you right now, that'd be like a cheap date.
Right. You don't have to buy them food. Don't have to do
nothing. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. Hey, love is love, man.
Hey, that or a blow-up doll. I'm not for sure which one is worse.
I think they're both do. Or they could go inside and possess the blow-up doll.
Oh, right. There we go. There we go.
You know, we do this in the Victorian era. Baby.
You're a sick man. That's why I asked you on the show. No, I was kidding. Well, before we get out of here, okay, so we have to. I always ask people that are in this industry. There's a lot of people, TikTok now and Instagram that are wanting to be paranormal investigators. These youngins that go into these places and don't protect themselves or don't really know what they're doing. Can you kind of give a little bit of advice of how to protect yourself, and also, what to expect when they're starting to investigate? Because some places are safe, but there's some places that may be a little more challenging.
So I have in my backpack like a thing of stones someone gave me, and then a very good friend of mine, when she came out to visit me on this last shoot, she got me this malachite.
Oh, cool.
I keep it on me. I do this mostly because this was a very kind gesture from her. Listen, I'm probably the wrong person to talk about in terms of protection, because I have a lot of people who meet me and they'll like you have attachments, and I'll be like, I don't care. I've got 2 kids I gotta pay for, and like I've got stuff to do.
Right.
I think if you are interested in protecting yourself, talk to people who deal with that. Like, there's definitely people who know about like stones and their different properties and stuff like that. I don't think it could hurt. I think if you believe in it, that's great, and it could help you. But also, I think for me, if you're interested, you're going to be interesting. And there's nothing more powerful than an interesting person.
Right.
Because they are 100% dedicated to getting something done for themselves. And reflect on what you're being interested in. If you're going and you're doing a TikTok video, or you're going and you're doing a paranormal investigation, what are you trying to accomplish in real time while you're investigating? What are you trying to accomplish? If you are just trying to get scared, or you are just doing it for thrills, acknowledge that you're just doing it for thrills, and work that angle, as that you're doing it for thrills, and this is why I'm doing it. So then when you are presented with the challenging subject matter, such as like, hey, I'm doing this for thrills, but this is a tragic story of a mother who went insane and like burned down her house after her kids died, you're gonna feel pretty disgusting if you're playing that for thrills. And that'll be good, because if those are your ingredients, where you're just naturally a disgusting person, which is fine, it takes all kinds, like you can have a reaction to that is life, that is interest. And therefore, I believe you will get the activity you seek while, more importantly, helping yourself. Like, if you're not doing paranormal investigations to help your own life, if you're not researching the dead for life or doing anything for your own life to help you be a better person, whatever that means. I don't mean like, oh, save the whales, they don't need our help, they like us. You're wasting your time. What the hell's the point? Why? For other people to look at you and think that you're cool? You're a loser if that's the case. Like, stop it. Like, I do think that you can use social media in a great way if you're doing it for yourself, but make that the main dish, make that the entree. And if you do that, I do believe you'll be protected, because your energy will only resonate with things that are not intimidated by that. And just like creepy people in life who see that you're so wrapped up in what, they think of you. There's other entities, I believe, that'll be like, oh, so you're like, oh, you're susceptible to this. And then you'll get got.
I love that. And so you youngins out there, and it doesn't have to be even young. There's just a lot of people that, especially with TikTok, they will do anything and everything to try to get exposure. So just be careful. And since the Halloween season, Halloween is only a week away. Is it a week away? No, 2 weeks away.
Yeah, a little more than a week, yeah.
2 weeks away. Most of us, like me, I dress up as a slutty hooker. But what do you usually do? What do you usually celebrate? How do you celebrate? Do you go to a haunted house and do some investigations, or?
So I do the opposite on Halloween. I keep it very anti-spooky. I just go, and then I'll go to like a candy land. No, I'm just joking. I dress up like a slutty Freddy Krueger. No, I take my kids out trick-or-treating. I don't dress up because I'm lazy. I don't put like a lot of effort into the costumes. I did win in 2008 competition though. I was the economy. And then I just had a graph of it go. I got a white long sleeve Hanes
That's
t-shirt.
hilarious.
I just drew on it, and then I went in and I won like $800.
Oh wow!
Cool. Yeah.
Well, you needed that in 2008. So.
Oh God, are you kidding me? I was like, this is my gas money. Like I'm broke, dude. So that was really helpful. But yeah, I love it, man. Like, I think this year I live near the Barrymore Film Center in Fort Lee. It's like a mile away, and it's like historic, like cinema museum, and they're playing Nosferatu. So I'm probably gonna go hang out with my kids, do trick or treating, let them go home with the mom, and then I'm like, all right, cool. And then I'm gonna go watch Nosferatu, and I'm just gonna sit there and and enjoy the night and get on the big screen. So I've never seen it like that before. So I'm excited about it.
I love that. Well, have fun. And for anybody that want to, this book might be almost 3 years old, but you can go out and pick this book up on Amazon. I'm sure other locations, Elements of a Haunting. And Mustafa, where's some other places you're going to, look at those guns. Where are some other places you're going to be, ripped your shirt there. Are you going to be touring around some, Paracons or any?
Yeah, I'm going to be at the Old Stone Jail with Brandon and Craig. Flumeri Promotions has an event, and it is on November 2nd and 3rd. No, 1st and 2nd. November 1st and 2nd. Yeah, it's coming up. So right after Halloween, you go to Old Stone Jail. It's in Bardstown, Kentucky.
Nice.
I think there's a few tickets left. I'm not sure if it's sold out. If it is, please don't hate me. But it is really cool. We've been to the Old Stone Jail in Bardstown twice, I believe. So, I'm sorry, it's not the Old Stone Jail. Wow, I'm an idiot. It's the Jailer's Inn. We're going to be at the Jailer's Inn in Bardstown, Kentucky. It's right next to the Tower Tower. Not Old Stone Jail, Jailer's Inn. A really, really cool spot. And we'll be there November 1st, the night of November 1st and 2nd. And really, really excited for that. Excited to go back. We've documented some crazy stuff there.
I bet.
Yeah, so it's super cool.
Well, thank you, Mustafa. I really appreciate it. First time. I hope you come back. I enjoyed it.
I'd love to be back, Tony.
Oh, that's what I wanted to hear.
It was a sweet experience.
But Yeah, I wished I had that sound effect, but I don't. Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you want to get his book, just go to Amazon, and I'm sure other places you can pick it up. And follow him on Instagram, and make sure any of these seasons that come out, make sure you support, because we love to support our guest and everything that they're doing. And also, thank you for tuning in every Friday, Truth Be Told, with Tony. And you can watch Robert Hensley on Mondays at Minutemen Report, Bonnie Burkert on Wednesdays with Truth Be Told Transformation, more of the spiritual side, the guru and the meditations and all that good stuff. And then, of course, me every Friday. So, well, take care of yourself and each other, and I'll see you next time. Bye.